Hey guys, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new, I like to do like fight breakdowns, and I like to do like full round breakdowns, but this is a little easier to digest, so I'm just going to do some kind of keys to victory and kind of talk about how I think that the fight is going to play out. If you like the content, like and subscribe and do all that stuff. If you don't, feel free to hit that dislike button. That's cool too. But leave a comment. I like comments. I love responding to people who comment on my videos and discussing boxing. The reason that I started this channel was because I was looking for people to discuss boxing, and I have, none of my friends are like 80-year-old men, so they don't really pay attention to boxing. But I found a wealth of people through this medium that have been interested in talking about boxing. So leave a comment, like, comment, and subscribe, and all that YouTube jazz. Now, getting into the fight. Let's see. So, let me start playing the video, right? It's going to be playing at 50% speed in the hopes of getting around like copyright stuff. I really don't like getting hit with copyright stuff because people don't usually, anyway, you know what's up. My channel just gets shut down because of it or whatever, so I slow down. But anyway, Wilder versus Ortiz, and this is going to be a phenomenal fight, you guys. It has the potential to be very one-sided, and it has the potential to be very one-sided in both fighters' favor. And that's like the really interesting thing about this fight for me, is that both fighters have the tools to make it look like their opponent was ineffectual, or like they didn't belong in the ring with them. Like if you saw the fight with David Allen, right? How he just, Luis Ortiz just smashed him, and after the second round, right, he just completely controlled him with his lead hand, and we're going to be taking a look at that as well. But how he made it just look like he didn't belong in the ring with him. Now, I do think that Wilder has the ability to do that, although he doesn't always show it. There's this common, like, kind of stereotype, not stereotype, but like this common, like, idea in your mind where if you're really going to dominate somebody, you don't have to try that hard, and that's an American mindset where, oh, it should just be easy. If you're going to beat them super easy, it's just going to be easy, and they'll kind of take it easy and not try their best. I don't know how to say that. I think sometimes Wilder does that, but the idea here is that Wilder is also very dangerous at every point in the fight, and even if like Luis Ortiz winds up kind of dominating him, at the end of the video I'll be talking about some of the tangibles that make Ortiz still very susceptible to the style of fighting that Wilder has. As far as like speed advantage and all those like tangible advantages, I think that for the most part it's probably pretty similar. Both fighters have knockout power. I think that Ortiz has better overall power, in that I would give him the advantage with like both hands, like punching with both hands, like his right hand and his left hand, whereas just one punch power, landing one clean shot, I would give the advantage to Wilder. I think that he has more power in that regard, but I think that Ortiz has the ability to land cleaner shots more often, or like in succession, and that's the part that really allows you to KO your opponents. Obviously that one hit stuff is great, but the ability to land successive blows is very important. Although both fighters have the ability to KO the other with one punch. Wilder spectacularly so. Anyway, we didn't get through the whole video yet, but I kind of want to I want to start the film study and kind of talk about it. You guys already watched the first minute and a half of it, or 3 minutes, or however long it's been running, but we're going to go back and kind of talk about these ideas of what we're seeing. So the first one I want to talk about is Deontay Wilder's active guard, right? So I'm going to pause it real quick. The way that he's sitting there, right, he's got his hands up or his hands down, right? Now, a lot of people think in boxing you have to have your hands up. It's definitely a common misnomer. You do not have to have your hands up if you're moving your head, right? If you have an active guard, right? You can allow this to bait your opponent into throwing shots at you, right? When they think that you're here, right? So you're here, you slip here, they shoot a punch here, but you're already moving here. And you can turn that slip here, boom, into a left hook, or that slip here into a right hand over the top. And you can bait them with shots that they're not going to see coming, they're not going to understand. And that's actually something that, what's his name? David Allen does very well, and we'll talk about that when that comes up. But I want you to pay attention to Wilder's active guard and how limited Szpilka winds up being because of it. Like, look at the long stretch of inactivity that Szpilka has where he's not throwing punches, right? And look at Ortiz or Wilder coming in, feinting. See how he's probing with that lead hand to control his opponent, right? Now, a lot of people don't understand what this means, right? You want to make your opponent think about this lead hand. You want to put it in their face, right? And now they're thinking about that. They're not thinking about punching you in the face. They are, like, in the back of their mind, thinking about what they want to do to set up, but they have to be worried about the fact that you're setting something up, and that allows you to occupy their mind and stop them from throwing punches at you. And Szpilka, you can see he's slipping. He thought a punch was coming there, right? And it's a way to physically get your opponent to do what you want them to do, right? Look at all the feinting and how he's able to get Szpilka to slip, move, slip, right? And he's able to control Szpilka with his active guard, with his head movement, right? Szpilka does a good job of tying him up right there and not allowing any offense. But the idea here is that this head movement from Wilder, right, not only is it important for him defensively, because if he's slipping and moving like this and he's constantly switching and not only like moving his head but transitioning his weight, pay attention to that too, his hips, his head, or his hips follow his head, or rather he moves his head by moving his hips, right? And that transitioning his weight, and that allows him to have power in his punches when he slips and moves. But if you watch anyway, back on track, just pay attention to that. But his active guard keeps Szpilka on the back foot, right? See how he's coming in, slipping to the inside, slipping to the outside, and Szpilka has to wait, oh, he's going to set something up, he's doing something, right? And it stops Szpilka from throwing any punches. This is going to be something that's very important for fighting Ortiz, because Ortiz, he's very, that economical style, right? Fighters that don't throw a lot of punches, or, when they have someone who's really, and real quick, I want to go back to this. When they have fighters that do control the space really well against them, they wind up not throwing as many punches and not being very active. And it's very easy to get fighters into that mindset, especially when you're as big and powerful as Deontay Wilder, right? So him using that active guard and slipping and making him think he's going to throw something with those slips, he can actually not only stop Wilder or stop Ortiz from setting up punches against him, right? But stop him, but also set punches up, right? Like I was saying, slip to the inside, right? And then slip to the inside and you disguise a right hand, slip to the outside, boom, and disguise a left hook, right? And hide your punches in that manner. And that's going to be very effective. And we'll talk about that more. But right here, Szpilka finds something out right here that he gets when he's moving laterally. Deontay Wilder stops moving his head and he stops with his active guard, right? So he starts setting up punches while Wilder is doing that, and Wilder is not even in a position to counter, and he's not ready for them. He's not even able to move away, and that's something that's also going to happen in this next frame. And then we're going to kind of talk about how effective the active guard is against Luis Ortiz in the next video, or the next series of clips. But again, the feinting, right? He's able to keep Szpilka on the back foot, feinting him. And then again, Szpilka finds out that there's no active guard when he's moving laterally, and that allows him the opportunity to throw punches at Wilder, right? Again, I don't know that that's something that Ortiz is going to be able to exploit, but if you notice in all of this clip, right, it's about a minute and a half of the fight, Szpilka doesn't throw any punches until he realizes that when he's moving off the line, because that active guard is so good at controlling Szpilka and keeping him active. And then right here, again, he has no active guard at the moment, and Szpilka does feel kind of okay throwing punches. And this is also going to lead into something else we'll talk about. But right here, we've got David Allen. He's a pretty average fighter. He's not great, but he controls Luis Ortiz very well by having an active guard, by slipping, moving, right? And it's very similar to the way Deontay Wilder does, right? Right here, how he flashes the lead hand, right, and just throws a hook, and he's able to get Ortiz back into his own guard. But as you see in this clip, it's in the first round. It's like a minute of the fight, or like 40 seconds of the fight, and Ortiz is not able to land any punches or really throw any punches because David Allen is able to feint him and get him out of position. That's another thing that I don't like about Ortiz, is that he is easy to bait out of position sometimes, but then it's even worse because he doesn't follow up his feints, right? When he gets feinted out of position, he doesn't move his head and then understand that he just got feinted, and that might be where his opponent wants his head, and then move away, right? Change angles or slip this way and move off the line, right? And we'll see evidence of that later in the rest of the clips. And I promise you, this is just the most amount of talking that I'll be doing. The video is going to end pretty quick. Well, you'll probably see how long it is and realize that. But anyway, look at him feinting him, right? And it causes so much hesitation in Ortiz because Ortiz is a smart guy. Ortiz has been boxing for a long time. He knows that feints lead to punches, right? Again, controlling him, right? Stopping Luis Ortiz from setting up his punches simply by feinting him. Right? And look at how relaxed that guy is, right? David Allen, right? Doesn't even have his hands up in front of one of the most devastating punchers in all of boxing, right? Or in the heavyweight division. And look at how easy these feints get Ortiz out of position, right? Get him covering up, thinking something's coming, and it allows him to create space. Now, this is going to be very important for Wilder and Wilder's ability to stay ahead on the scorecards so that he doesn't have to be the one that's looking for Hail Marys at the end of the fight. This is going to be that active style from him is going to allow him to keep Ortiz from setting up as many punches, as well as scoring as much, right? Because he's still going to have the opportunity to slip and catch and block punches. And right here, we're going to pause it real quick. He's still going to have that opportunity, but it's going to stop Ortiz from being as active as he wants, and that's going to allow his bigger, flashier combinations to kind of set precedent over the rounds. So even if he's not necessarily winning the rounds, the fact that he goes, wow, whoa, right, and he makes a big splash, and the fact that Ortiz is not very active because of this may allow him to squeak ahead on the scorecards, for people to say, oh, it was a close and competitive fight, blah, blah, all that stuff, but kind of keep Ortiz out of the fight, right? Mitigating his offense and his ability to set it up. Now we're going to talk about some things. Lead hand control, right? This is really big, right? Look at how right now Wilder is just coming forward, right? And Szpilka flashes the lead hand, right? He flashes the lead hand, and then he throws a body shot, and then look at him come back with the counter, right? It's a great counter, right? But because of the fact that he didn't have to work his way in, right? It allows Szpilka to easily get out of the way of that because he was able to feint and then able to throw his punch and then just use defensive responsibility to get off the line and stop Wilder from being effective. Now this clip is going to be a little different. It's very similar, right? But look at how much closer he comes to landing that counter, right? Because he uses his lead hand, right, to probe, and now he's making Szpilka work around it, right? Probing, and now instead of Szpilka being able to just stick his hand out real quick and feint him, right? Because Wilder is controlling him with the lead hand, Szpilka feels the need to commit to the lead hand, right? And then commit to it twice, and that almost walks him into the counter. But that's because he's forcing Szpilka to commit to it, right? Because Szpilka doesn't know any better, right? He doesn't know how to get around that lead hand without putting himself in danger and being the first one to commit to a shot, right? And that allows Wilder to get into a positional advantage by basically forcing his opponent to throw a punch without him being out of position first, which allows him to be more successful with that counter. Now again, right here, he's not controlling Szpilka at all, right? Sorry, right here, right? And Szpilka is able to just throw punches. Here we go, sorry. So right here, he's not using the lead hand, right? Flashes those lead hands, gets him out of position, right? Very similar to the last one, and throws that punch. And look at how easy it is to get him out of position, to get Wilder out of position. because of the fact that you have to respect the feints, right? You have to know that they're coming, flash, flash, and he just starts moving back, right? He does get away from all the shots initially, but winds up out of position and getting caught with that shot. Now, the first straight left hand could have been a feint, right? And then baiting the second one, right? Which would have made the whole exchange much cleaner for Szpilka. But the idea here is that he puts himself in danger by not being the one that controls his opponent with the lead hand, and he winds up being the one that gets controlled. Flash, flash, and then now he's the one moving out of position first. He's the one that's committing, right? And then boom, winds up getting caught with the shot. Now, this next clip is this is a double header. This shows him not controlling his opponent with the lead hand, and then missing a right hand counter, and then showing him controlling with his opponent with the lead hand and landing a right hand counter. But as you can see right here, sorry, here we go. It's very quick. Szpilka is coming forward, flashes the lead hand at Wilder. Wilder goes to control it, right? And because he got feinted, because it wasn't a real left hand, it wasn't a real right hand, it wasn't a real jab, he gets baited out of position and misses the counter and gets caught with the body shot. Now in the same instance, right, we can see him use the lead hand dominance, right? So he's going to flash his lead hand, and he's making Artur Szpilka go first, right? In the first series, the flash made Deontay Wilder go first and extend his lead hand, getting him out of position and allowing Szpilka to set up the straight left to the body. In this instance, Wilder is just flashing the lead hand, and it's making Szpilka slip to the inside without doing anything to control Wilder, right, or get Wilder out of position. So basically think of Wilder as just being right here, right, and then you just see his opponent slip completely to the inside for no reason, right, and then boom, getting caught with this huge right hand, right? And that's the power of having your lead hand dominance, making your opponent work around it, flash it, right, and getting them to commit to the first move, basically make the first mistake, right? Good fighters capitalize on your mistakes. Great fighters make you make mistakes. And Deontay Wilder, using this lead hand control, is able to get Szpilka to make a mistake, and boom, and he pays for it with the fight. Now, the next clip is Luis Ortiz, and this is very important for him, right? The lead hand dominance as well. This is going to be a recurring theme throughout the fight, and the fighter that's controlling the other one with the lead hand or the active guard, and that's something that I'll talk about later. Luis Ortiz does not have an active guard, and that's going to hurt him a lot in this fight. But being able to control your opponent with the lead hand to set your punches up. We're just going to watch this like 30-second clip or whatever of Luis Ortiz controlling him with the lead hand, right? Some of those are real punches, but some of them are he's just probing and kind of showing him right there when David Allen tries to control him with the lead hand. He bats it down, touches gloves with him, and then shoots a jab over the top. And look at those two jabs at the end, right? Those are not real punches, right? Bop. And then boom. He's just controlling him because David Allen is in a position where he might be able to throw a right hand, right? So he knows he needs to control him, right? But Luis Ortiz does a superb job of controlling him with the lead hand. Again, batting that lead hand down when it comes out, right? Right here. Batting it down, boom, and then shooting a jab over the top, right? This is going to be something that's really important for Luis Ortiz in how he not only defends himself and another idea here, going back real quick. Remember the first clip where David Allen was able to feint him and slip and do this and throw a punch and do all that funny stuff and not really do anything to land any punches, but he stopped Luis Ortiz from throwing punches? Using his lead hand dominance, he's able to stop Luis Ortiz, or he's able to stop David Allen from using that active guard effectively and control him and keep him out of it and stop him from controlling Ortiz with it, right? By controlling him back with the lead hand. And that very active guard, that feinting style that David Allen was trying to get going, winds up becoming completely nullified because he's being controlled. Again, Ortiz feinting, boom. Maybe that was another clip. This one might be out of space, I'm not sure. But we'll keep watching. We'll see where it goes. Controlling him with the lead hand. Controlling him. Yeah, this is the right clip. But walking him into a shot, right? Just feinting him, right? Boom. Probing him. And he gets him to commit to a defensive posture, right? And then comes back with the straight left hand, right? Forcing your opponent out of position with that probing style, right? Making your opponent go first. And that's all due to him being able to control his opponent with the lead hand, which is, again, is going to be very important, not only in his ability to set up his punches, but to stop Wilder from having that active guard, from having Wilder be able to slip and move in and keep Ortiz on the outside. But again, beautiful work from him, walking him into those shots. Even though that one doesn't land, it's not important. It's the idea that he is able to control his opponent. And again, more lead hand control. And I just wanted to highlight this because it is so phenomenal of Luis Ortiz. And this is one of those things that I think that really gives him the edge in the fight. But again, probing gets him to make... I don't know why that clip is there, to be honest. I think I was supposed to cut that. Disregard that. But here he goes again, flashing the lead hand. Boom. And this is the clip that I thought we were watching. But he flashes the lead hand, controlling David Allen's lead hand. Control. And then he gets David Allen to commit to a straight right or a right hand, like a looping one. And then boom, goes over the top with his own left hand. Again, using the lead hand to bait him and say, hey, throw a punch at me, throw a punch at me. And he finally gets him to say yes. And he takes a step back and then crashes that left hand into David Allen's head, making him make a mistake. Control, right? And that stops, again, that stops David Allen from slipping to the inside, right? Or slipping to the outside and setting up his punches like he wanted to, because he's being controlled by the left hand. Control. And this is going to, like I said, this is going to be very important. And this is why I'm actually favoring Ortiz to win the fight. It's because he has so many more tools than Wilder does for dealing with the control. Again, control, shoots that jab on top of the glove, pulling it down and shooting that left hand over the top. You know, it doesn't look like it lands, but that's not important either. Again, controlling him, doing a great job. Hey, get out of here. This is my space. This is my space. Boom. And this is a beautiful exchange. I didn't say it earlier, but this is the idea behind controlling the space, right? No, most people say that you want to maintain the distance, but it's completely ineffectual. You don't want there to be more space between you and your opponent than how much you need to land a punch, right? If you can't land a punch, if your opponent can't land a punch, the likelihood that you can land a punch either is very low, right? So you don't want to make sure there's a lot of space between each other, maintain the space. You want to control the space, right? And that keeps your opponent, like the active guard we were talking about with Deontay Wilder, that stops his opponent from opening up and throwing punches at you, right? The same thing with this lead hand dominance, where you're showing your opponent the lead hand, you stop them from setting up their own punches and allow you to set up your own, right? Control. And then as soon as David Allen decides to get out of his comfort zone, out of that thing, he walks into this uppercut. Boom, that's beautifully timed from Ortiz. Now, the boxing theory behind this, right, is that he's being controlled, and David Allen doesn't set this straight right hand up at all, right? So it makes it very easy for Ortiz to see coming, right? And he does just a very basic boxing motion, slips, and then comes up with the uppercut. And that's because of the fact that he's controlling the space. Or David Allen does not have the space, right? Or the how do I say it the most appropriate way? He doesn't have the time to move into that space to set his punches up, right? He's not able to feint him with like a flashing lead hand and then throw that right hand over the top because he's constantly being peppered with that jab. And it's not a hard jab, it's not a stiff jab, you know, it's a controlling jab. And he's able to make Allen make a mistake by controlling that space. Now this is where I really have a problem with Ortiz, is he does not have an active guard, right? So he's not moving his head, he's not slipping, setting punches up on the angles, right? He's very stagnant in his guard, and boom, it's not always that hard to walk him into shots. So David Allen is setting up a shot, and again, right now, Luis Ortiz is not controlling him with the lead hand, right? So Luis Ortiz feints him, right? and then shoots a straight right hand right through the guard and lands it. And that's because Luis Ortiz has no head movement, because his head is always in the same spot. And I forgot to mention that throughout all of the clips, right? If you watch all of the clips again, if you go back, Luis Ortiz's head is always in the same spot. You know, sometimes he moves his upper body, right? But he's not moving his head. He's not slipping. He's not. He only slips when there's punches coming at him, and that's not head movement. That's called common sense. Now, if you're not moving your head when your opponent punches at you, you're an idiot. You know, you should probably not be boxing. But easy to walk him into that shot. And now Wilder had a lot of trouble setting his punches up against Szpilka, because Szpilka does have an active guard, right? As you can see here, he has a very difficult time landing punches on him because he doesn't know where Szpilka's head is going to be, because he's constantly slipping. But he's not going to have that problem with Ortiz, right? Boom. As you can see, his head is always in the same spot. And David Allen is very easily able to walk him into this shot, which is based off of the head movement, right? Remember, he would slip to the outside. Now he slips to the outside, and he walks him into this straight right hand. And it's the same motion that he was making when he would slip this way, right? Even though he does land a good counter right there, this really worries me about Ortiz. Again, another great right hand based off of slipping and the active guard that he has. He's able to hide his punches. Even though they're not hurting Ortiz, that's not the point. Boom. And now, even though that one doesn't land cleanly, right, you got to be worried about all these shots that are set up easily off of the head movement and the fact that Ortiz doesn't move his head. I think that's going to be a big it factor in the fight, in deciding whether or not Ortiz can win, because there may just be a time in the fight where Ortiz does not move his head at all and gets clipped with a huge shot. So while I'm giving the edge to Ortiz, I give the edge for technical ability, athleticism even. I think that he has more skills and more boxing knowledge, right? He knows how to take away the tools of Wilder much better than I think Wilder knows how to take away his tools, which is going to be the lead hand control. As we saw when David Allen would try to battle it out, his hand would just get batted down, and then a shot would come over the top. But Wilder, because of the ineffectual head movement that Ortiz has, he's going to be a live dog in the fight all 12 rounds. All 12 rounds. You're never going to be able to say, hey, this one's over, you know, in the 10th round, you know, it's just a matter of time, because Wilder just has, I got a term in my head for it, but he's just got that power, you know, that bronze bomber, you know, and because of that fact, that it makes it a very difficult fight to really predict. But this is basically how I predict the fight to go, is that Ortiz is going to be a little slow, not slow starting, right? But Wilder is going to be able to control him in the early rounds, maybe the first and the second, or the midway through the second, and Ortiz is going to start controlling him with that lead hand and trying to set up his punches, and he might be able to make Wilder make some mistakes, because I think that Wilder might be a little inexperienced in dealing with someone who has this much boxing knowledge, right? Unless he's got a lot of experience fighting with Klitschko. This is something that Klitschko likes to do, right? That jab, keep that jab in their face, control, control, control. Don't let them use that space to set their punches up. But I think that Ortiz is going to probably take over if he's able to do that, right? If he's not completely shying away from the active guard from Wilder, and that Ortiz might be able to control Wilder enough to set up his punches and really put some stuff together. And if that goes well for Ortiz, I could see him winning a unanimous decision, maybe catching Wilder. We'll see. I don't know if... I mean, Szpilka caught Wilder with some big shots, you know, and I don't think people remember that. And Wilder didn't go down. You know, he got a little wobbly sometimes, but so far I believe in Wilder's chin. But we don't know about Ortiz's chin. I mean, who the hell has hit this guy, you know? I don't know. Nobody? Nobody's... I mean, David Allen landed some kind of glancing blows, you know, that one with the forearm, you know. Let me go ahead and play the video for you guys. But Wilder is going to be wild, or not wild, he's going to be live the whole fight because of these last few clips. Because of these last few clips where he doesn't move his head. And I think especially this one right here. This one really gives me pause right here. And there's a few more where he's able to just shoot a shot straight through. But nobody, you know, maybe Mikey Garcia has a better right hand than Wilder, but I definitely think that Wilder is going to be live the whole fight, and this might really be a problem for Ortiz, getting comfortable in the fight, getting complacent, especially if he gets ahead. And we already know what Wilder does when he gets behind. You know, he was getting his ears boxed off by Gerald Washington, and you know what he said? He said, "Man, I'm done with this. I'm done with this bullshit," and just went in there and started throwing haymakers. You know, he's like, "Who needs boxing skill, man? I got the power." You know, and just really wrecked him. Anyway, again, tough fight to call. We don't know if Wilder's going to be the one controlling his opponent, or Luis Ortiz is going to be the one controlling his opponent. Whoever has control for the most amount of the fight is going to be the one that is going to be winning. I'm predicting it's going to be Ortiz, but Ortiz may wind up just getting KO'd at any point in the fight. You know, as we saw, there's no head movement. Again, it's not head movement if you move your head only when your opponent throws punches at you. That's common sense, right? Head movement is what Deontay Wilder is doing right now, having head movement. This is what gives your opponents pause, right? How do they throw a punch at you if your head is constantly moving? Slip, 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 slip. Moving to the side, you know, rolling. He doesn't know if it's coming to the inside or the outside. He doesn't know what you're doing, right? And that's head movement. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know who you're picking too. This is just, God, this is going to be an exciting fight. I'm so hyped for this. Yeah, I've been a fan of Luis Ortiz for a long time, and obviously Deontay Wilder since he was in the Olympics. I never missed the Olympic boxing, except for the last year. You know, the last like 2 years ago, I missed those ones. Although I did catch that very highly controversial fight. I watched it. I'm not going to say what I thought about it, but Michael Conlan, come on, man. You should have done better, okay? You should have done better. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Oh, yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, man. Come on, subscribe, guys. It's not that hard. You just click that little button, whatever.